A couple free agents have already signed. That's my fault for getting this video out late, but there are still some big names out there like Aaron Judge, among others. Let's find out where him and the others go this offseason.
Shout out to everyone on here. If you want to see your name on here, link is down in the description.
We're going to go position by position, starting off at catcher. Willson Contreras, the best catcher on the market. The Houston Astros. I predicted Houston to trade for Contreras at the deadline, and of course, it didn't happen. Maldonado is a great defensive catcher and knows how to call a game, but they'll need some more offense from behind the plate. They'll be after a catcher this offseason without a doubt. The defending champs would love to add the best one on the market. Omar Narvaez, the Chicago Cubs. Losing Contreras, still need to get a new catcher. Narvaez had a rough 2022, but was an all-star in 2021. Cubs will be able to add him for semi-cheap, banking on him having a bounce-back season in 23. Maybe throw in an option to help lure him to Chicago. Mike Zunino, the Minnesota Twins. A career year in 2021 came with a career worst in 2022. That included a ton of injuries to only play 36 games. Gary Sanchez didn't really work out in Minnesota, and Jeffers isn't good enough to be the everyday catcher. Minnesota could add another big power bat to their lineup if Zunino bounces back. Gary Sanchez, the Marlins. A team will take a chance on Gary Sanchez, regardless if it's at catcher, first, or DH. And the good news for the Marlins is they could use insurance at all three of those positions. Miami has an elite pitching staff, but they'll need to add some more bats this offseason. Christian Vasquez, the Cleveland Guardians. We haven't seen enough of Bo Naylor to know what the Guardians have in him, so the reigning AL Central champs probably want some insurance and a veteran catcher. First base, Jose Abreu, the Minnesota Twins. The surprising report of the White Sox will let Abreu walk lets him explore free agency, and he could stay in division with the team who desperately needs help at first base after a rough season for Miguel Sano. The versatile all-star Luis Arraez can play first, of course, second, and also third, and another big power bat in the lineup. Josh Bell, the Houston Astros. Currently, the Astros do not have a first baseman on their roster, so regardless if it's Bell or another option, they'll be looking to add at first. He's struggled in the second half with the Padres, but the past season and a half in DC were great seasons that went under the radar on a bad team. Houston does not need another big bat for the sake of the other 2019s, but they'll get at least one here. Brandon Belt of Chicago Cubs. All the options already mentioned are very intriguing for the Cubs, as they do need a new first baseman. But I'll say they go the little cheaper route here, since they'll be spending a lot more at a position a little later in the video. Second base, Gene Segura, the Chicago White Sox. The White Sox had arguably the worst production at second base, which was one of many reasons they missed the postseason in a very disappointing 2022. Segura is coming off a World Series appearance and has put above average numbers up nearly his whole career. Barring a trade, White Sox would be dumb not to make this signing. Adam Frazier, the Detroit Tigers. Frazier is starting to look like a one-half wonder with his all-star season in Pittsburgh before being traded to the Padres, but a team like the Tigers, who are still somewhat in the middle, would be willing to take a chance on the versatile Frazier. Regardless of where these free agents go, you can see them all on their new teams for the 2023 season, or if you want tickets for this winter for football, basketball, concerts, or nearly anything requires a ticket, go to SeatGeek, enter promo code BREWPACK, exactly what our channel name is spelled, and get yourselves $20 off. Shortstops, Trae Turner, Philadelphia Phillies. The shortstop market will be making the most noise this offseason after Aaron Judge, and the reigning National League champs could use some help at shortstop. And with reports of Turner having interest of playing somewhere on the East Coast, and the Phillies showing they're willing to spend big, this is a perfect match. Xander Bogarts, the Seattle Mariners. Seattle's coming off their best season since 2001, led by Julio Rodriguez. As if the Mariners fan base couldn't already be more excited, it's time to add a big name free agent. J.P. Crawford is a nice player, but you can always move him to second or third full time because, of course, Xander is a lot better. They might need more than Bogarts to overtake the Astros in the West, but this is a good start. Carlos Correa, the Baltimore Orioles. Baltimore shocked a lot of people finishing as close to the playoffs as they did. Correa won't fix all their problems, but they could follow the same recipe as the Rangers, but better. Sign a big-name shortstop like Seager for the Rangers, continue to let Adley and others develop, and they should find themselves fighting for the East sooner rather than later. Dansby Swanson, the Chicago Cubs. Nico Hoerner is nice, but if you have a chance to add a player like Swanson, then you have to do it. Nico can always play second. Overall, I'd be shocked to see the Cubs weren't trying their hardest to land one of these big-name shortstops. Third baseman, Justin Turner, the Arizona Diamondbacks. Justin Turner's time in LA was great, but it's most likely done after they declined his option. He's still a good bat, but entering his 38th season, his best seasons are most likely behind him, and not a very good team will most likely be trying to add him, overpaying, and advertising him off his name to sell more tickets. Arizona isn't horrible, but they're not a threat in the West. Jace Pearson, the San Francisco Giants. The Brewers turned Jace from a minor league deal into a very solid utility man whose main position is at third. The Giants are losing Evan Longoria and will try their best to replace him. Pearson may not be elite, but he's good for what he is. Brandon Drury, the Milwaukee Brewers. Drury is coming off a career year, which did include a small drop-off in San Diego, but was still above average. Milwaukee loves their utility guys, and since they'll most likely be losing Pearson, the Brewers will need a new guy to replace him, especially with insurance behind Juan, Luis, and some of the younger guys in the outfield. Evan Longoria, the Marlins. Kind of in the same boat as Turner to the Diamondbacks, but the Marlins, at least in my eyes, will be better. Longoria has still been an above average player as of late, but just like Turner, he's kind of old and most likely won't get any better. A younger Marlins team who's looking for a vet and some offense, this is perfect for Longoria to return to the state of Florida. Outfield, Joey Gallo, the Colorado Rockies. Gallo can hit the ball as far as anyone in this league. Gallo and Contreras would just be a lot of fun. This prediction is partly me rooting for it to happen. The Rockies kind of shown that they will spin a little with Bryant, Bard, Crone, and Sensatella. Gallo is most likely headed for a prove-it type deal, a perfect and fun opportunity for the Rockies to jump on. Andrew Benintendi, the Pittsburgh Pirates. Benintendi was nice in 21 and even better in 22. He's good, but a team will most likely overpay him a little bit. Pittsburgh doesn't spin, so this might not make sense, but they seem like the type that just want to buy somebody to show they actually do spin. Benintendi is good, but he definitely doesn't change much in Pittsburgh. David Peralta, the Toronto Blue Jays. Toronto has a lot of great bats, but most of them are righties. Toronto has been reported to want to add a left-handed bat, which is obvious. Peralta may not be the best one on the market, but he's still very solid. Jerickson Profar, the Baltimore Orioles. He settled in nicely at left field in 2022, but he's still a guy that can be moved around the field. Baltimore, who's just looking for some players that can help them reach the postseason. Profar would be a perfect fit, also not expensive, which the Orioles won't want after spending big on Correa. Brandon Nimmo, the New York Yankees. We'll get to who will land Aaron Judge, but hint, it won't be the Yankees. They'll need someone that can replace him in the outfield. Nimmo might not be Judge, but he's still someone who can knock 30 home runs and get on base at nearly a 400 rate. Kevin Kiermaier, the New York Mets. New York is looking pretty thin in the outfield, and although Kiermaier isn't an elite bat, he's average at the plate and elite in the field. The Mets will be looking for more, but this isn't a player you should completely overlook. Michael Conforto, the Texas Rangers. Conforto was a big free agent last offseason, but it was announced early in the season that he'd be out until August due to injury and would decide not to sign until this offseason. The Rangers, who I thought made a lot of sense last offseason, make even more sense this offseason. After fixing their middle infield, they'll now look to fix a hole in the outfield with a big on-base player. Mitch Haniger, the Cleveland Guardians. Surprisingly, the Mariners decided not to extend a qualifying offer to Haniger. Guardians have some young guys in the outfield who are nice players, but Cleveland will most likely want to add a veteran bat to make sure they'll have no trouble in their outfield, and they add a potential 30 home run bat. And the last outfielder, the biggest name on the free agent market, is Aaron Judge to the Boston Red Sox. Let's get crazy. Earlier this year, Judge did rave about how much he liked Fenway Park. Could he be upset that the Yankees didn't extend him before his MVP season? Possibly. This is the best way he could get back at them. Just from how he's talking, it doesn't seem like he'll be back in the Bronx, but I'm wrong a lot, so who knows? Boston isn't planning on paying Bogarts nor Devers. Maybe it's because they're saving for Judge, or maybe it's just because they're cheap. Boston wants to make it up to their fans who trained bets a few years ago. Again, this would be the perfect way to do so. The Giants seem like the most likely place, but to me, this seems like the most fun and drama place that Aaron Judge can land. DHs, J.D. Martinez, the Chicago Cubs. After already adding Swanson and Belt, the Cubs keep adding, this time at the DH position. Martinez is on the decline, but is still an overall solid bat who can knock the ball out of the park a good amount of times. The Cubs had a lot of problems last year, but the offense would be fixed for at least 2023 with these three adds in the lineup. Michael Brantley, Milwaukee Brewers. The Brewers traded Lorenzo Cain early in his career and brought him back in the later part of his career. Although Brantley never played at the big league level, he was a prospect given up in the famous CC Sabathia deal in 2008. Just like Cain, Brantley could finish his career where it first started in Milwaukee. Brantley and Yelich would swap between playing in left field and at DH. Matt Carpenter, the New York Yankees. Carpenter's career looked kind of finished after signing a minor league deal with the Rangers, but something in New York revived his career. Carpenter put up insane numbers with the Yankees. Although a small sample size, a second date seems best for both sides. Andrew McCutchen, the Pittsburgh Pirates. We don't know how much longer McCutchen will be playing, but he's slowing down a lot. This is only if McCutchen wants 2023 to be his last year. He'll finish his career where it started and he won MVP. Trae Mancini, the Tampa Bay Rays. Tampa is looking to cut costs this offseason via trades, but Mancini won't be very expensive after a down year. The Rays need a new first baseman after trading G-Man Choi too, although he could also find himself in the outfield or DH. Starting pitchers, Carlos Rodon, the St. Louis Cardinals. Cardinals need an ace. Pitching is a huge need, even if it wasn't why they lost in the wild card round. Rodon is one of the best on the market. Kodai Senga, the San Diego Padres. An elite flamethrower from Japan, Padres have been willing to sign a lot of guys to big contracts and make the big blockbuster trades. They need some starting pitching, especially after losing Clevenger. Jacob Degrom, the Texas Rangers. Texas showed they wanted to spin last offseason, and it'll continue with another blockbuster signing this offseason. John Gray just can't be your ace if you want to be a true contender. Nathan Eovaldi, the Boston Red Sox. Expect Eovaldi, who's been a nice pitcher for Boston, to be extended to a 3 to 5 year contract. Boston still needs better and more pitching though. Chris Bassett, the New York Mets. Bassett declined the Mets qualifying offer, but assuming DeGrom is out, they know they can't lose another guy. Justin Verlander, the Philadelphia Phillies. Philadelphia has the bats and some nice names in their rotation with Nola, Wheeler, and Suarez. But if they want to go from good rotation to arguably the best, this is a signing they have to make. Corey Kluber, the Chicago Cubs. Chicago already spent a lot of money on offense, which they need to do, but their biggest need is still pitching. Kluber may not be what he used to be with the Indians, but if Chicago can find something in him, even a fraction of it, it'll be very useful for an already really thin rotation. Sean Manaea, the Kansas City Royals. The Royals have nice young talent headlined by Bobby Witt Jr. Doubt they'll be too aggressive this offseason, but adding a solid pitcher would show they're headed in the right direction. Jose Quintana, the Chicago White Sox. A great bounce back year with the Pirates and Cardinals have him lined up for a solid payday. White Sox already have a nice rotation, adding Quintana back to where he started to play along with Cease and Jimenez, who he was traded for, would give Chicago an elite rotation. Jameson Taillon, the Baltimore Orioles. Baltimore adds big in the lineup and now adds a much-needed pitcher, taking him from their division rivals, the Yankees. This pitching staff is better than most would give them credit for, and with the addition of Taillon, Baltimore just gets a lot more scarier. Taijuan Walker, the Minnesota Twins. Another Mets pitcher gone, and just like others, the Twins are all right, but Walker would immediately jump up to the number 3 or number 2 guy in their rotation. Wade Miley, the Pittsburgh Pirates. Miley only pitched 9 games in 22 with the Cubs, but was still great in those 9 games. A 1-year deal with the Pirates and trade at the deadline for a prospect or two, just like Quintana last year. Zach Eflin, the Chicago Cubs. The Cubs could honestly add 4 starters if they wanted to. Eflin bounced from a reliever to start last year, but he'd definitely be a starter in Chicago. Rich Hill, the Boston Red Sox. Hill's going into his 43-year-old season. He's still decent, and Boston is looking to add any arm they can. Ross Stripling, the Toronto Blue Jays. He had a near elite year with the Blue Jays. Keeping Stripling, Toronto will yet again be one of the favorites coming out of the American League. Zach Greinke, the Kansas City Royals. All reports point to him return to Kansas City. Andrew Heaney, the St. Louis Cardinals. Just like Anderson, Heaney got saved by the Dodgers. St. Louis needs arms and a second southpaw. Noah Syndergaard, Milwaukee Brewers. Syndergaard had the tools to be one of the elites in the game for years, but injuries and just not living up to the potential stopped that. The Brewers pitching lab have got plenty of careers started and revived others. Syndergaard's career isn't dead by any means, still being slightly above average, but the Brewers could bring him out what he was supposed to be. Mike Minor, Washington Nationals. Washington is looking for anybody that can eat some innings as they continue to rebuild. Minor was an all-star in 2019 and has struggled since, but he's still able to start every 5 days, which is all the Nationals need at this point. Jordan Lyles, the Milwaukee Brewers. Lyles was all right in Baltimore after struggling with the Rangers back-to-back seasons, but his best seasons came in Milwaukee in the second half of 2018 and the second half of 19. Milwaukee needs more insurance in the rotation and or possibly as a lone reliever in the bullpen. Lyles is good at both. Mike Clevenger, the Tampa Bay Rays. Tyler Glasnow could be on the move. Tampa will also be losing Kluber to free agency. The Rays have some young guys, but you'd like an established starter to help lead those younger guys. Clevenger may not be an ace, but he's still solid. Craig Kimbrell, the Colorado Rockies. Kimbrell got removed as the Dodgers closer last year and has really only been good in half a season the past 4 years. Of course, Colorado is a rough place for pitchers. The Rockies may give them the best offer to land him. Kenley Jansen, the Philadelphia Phillies. Jansen may not still be in his prime, but he's still a closer a team can rely on. The Phillies upgraded their bullpen last year, but still had trouble at closer. Jansen could fix that. Taylor Rogers, the Boston Red Sox. After being one of the better relievers the first 2 months of the season, he struggled with the Padres after being dealt to the Brewers in the Hader trade. A team desperate for pitching will still take their chances with them. Andrew Chafin, the St. Louis Cardinals. Chafin has turned into a great reliever over the past 3 years and was excellent with the Tigers this past offseason. Zach Thompson was nice as their only lefty last year since TJ McFarland didn't work out, but teams would like to have at least 2 lefties they can trust in their bullpen. Michael Fulmer, the Minnesota Twins. Fulmer was traded from Detroit to Minnesota at the deadline and wasn't as good as he was with the Tigers, but still overall solid. Chris Martin, the Los Angeles Dodgers. Martin was great with the Cubs, but elite with the Dodgers after being traded. Dodgers are usually good at adding relievers. This should be one they re-sign. Chad Green, the New York Yankees. Green has been a Yankee for all 7 years of his career and don't expect that to change. Brad Boxberger, the Toronto Blue Jays. The Brewers surprisingly declined his $3 million option to make him a free agent. Toronto has a nice bullpen already by adding Boxberger, who is coming off back-to-back great seasons in Milwaukee and high-leverage situations. The Blue Jays could get even better there. Aroldis Chapman, the Chicago Cubs. Although some small, there's at least a 1% chance for everyone mentioned to re-sign with their 2022 teams. Chapman's chances are in the negative. Left off the playoff roster and was nearly DFA'd. Chicago traded a lot of their bullpen arms at this past deadline, and Chapman will always have a special place in Cub fans' heart after 2016. One of the very few spaces he might still be accepted. That is my prediction for the bigger name free agents to go this offseason. You guys let me know your predictions. Where is Aaron Judge going to go and the other bigger names? Let me know down in the comments below. Hope you guys have a super beautiful day. If you guys enjoyed the video, please have a like and subscribe if you guys are not already. You guys have a beautiful day. I'll see you in the next video. See ya.